gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
You're talking to two guys from Hialeah and West Kendall and one with a Raleigh Fingers mustache, so I think you're good.
Ricky Vaughn style, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Who flips their bat like that in a single?
I'm here
A
for
guy that's hitting 200, bro.
Listen, you paid $5 for your ticket, even if you're sitting behind home plate.
Gets paid the big bucks. He knows a little better than I do.
And he's very handsome.
So handsome.
super handsome. Super handsome.
Your expectations as a Marlins fan should have changed by now.
All the feels, man. Like, I love Pablito so much.
Lineup doesn't take for your ball.
It depends on what you give up,
I
man.
don't like that question, Danny.
I don't.
Why would you let me see it if I can't have it? Like, I feel like the Marlins.
Jerk.
Starting staff has looked so much better.
All three of them.
I'm looking forward to this one, guys. I believe.
The Marlins have the worst run differential in the National League.
Oh man, now this was the wrong choice, but
I am ready to get hurt again.
Brandon, the Batter fans are back.
We're
Welcome,
back.
everybody, to episode number 45 of the Batter Marlins Fans Podcast. I am your host, Daniel Granada, and alongside me, as always, Mr. Bratton Griffin. How are you doing, sir?
I guess I'll say I'm 50-50 today. I'm half and half. 3-3.
Well, that was the week we had, and even with
Yeah.
that week, we still managed to only have 13 wins on the season. But it's interesting because we're now 45 games into the year. So
Yeah.
I was curious, what do you think is the worst 50-game start in MLB history?
Oh,
Like, if you had to put a number on how many wins you think it is.
15.
No.
Mm.
The worst start for a season, the first 50 games, was actually by the Oakland A's last year. They started the
Oof.
year 10-40. 10-40.
If I remember correctly, I think 3 of those wins came against the Braves too. I think they swept the Braves early in the season.
Oh, that I'm not sure, but that would be a wild stat because then the Braves could have won even more games because we also swept them and we shouldn't have towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
After that, the next worst is the 96 Tigers, which were 12-38. And then in third place, the 2013 Miami Marlins, 13-37.
Mm.
So we are 5 games away. Do you think that there's a chance that we could end up tying the record for third worst and worst in Marlins history? Because that's the worst 50-game start in Marlins history, that 13-37 from 11 years ago.
I am going to say no. I think we win at least 1 or 2 more games before we get to the 50 game mark. I think we saw some cool stuff going on. Some good stuff coming from like guys like Dane Meyer. De La Cruz is on fire. Pitching staff did really well. Specifically, Ryan Weathers had a perfect game going into the 6th, and then ended up throwing 8 shutout innings. Yeah, that was awesome. And then Trevor Rogers bounced back from his nightmare start and shut down the Tigers last night or yesterday afternoon. I think things are kind of starting to get, you can't say back on track, but I think we're going in the right direction. Maybe going to win a couple games every week.
We beat the Phillies this past week. So since we recorded, we had 2 series, the Phillies and the Tigers.
Yeah.
And when we beat the Phillies, it felt just about right because it felt like every week that we recorded, they like added 1 win to the win onto that side of the column.
I kind of thought that was going to be it.
As did I. I thought we were going to come in here and be talking about how we got another win.
Yeah.
That Tiger series surprised the hell out of me, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
It could have been a sweep.
It really could have been.
If Anthony Maldonado doesn't melt down in the 8th inning, we win that game. It was the bottom of the 8th. We could have won that game, and it would have been a sweep. 14
and the Tigers
wins.
aren't a terrible team. Tigers
up until that point, they were 500.
Yeah.
Now after the series, I believe they're 1 game under 500, but up to that point, they were a 500 team.
Better than us.
Well, that's for sure.
The cool thing about the Tigers series was just like a homecoming for Dane Meyer. Because he was originally drafted by the Tigers as a pitcher coming out of Rice, and he struggled in the minor leagues, and I think he got as high as double A, and then they were like, hey, it's just not working. Do you want to go back to being a hitter? Because he did both sides of the ball in college, and he decided to go and hit. The Tigers left him unprotected in the Rule 5 draft, and we took him in the minor league level, and dude did pretty well last year, tore up at AAA this year, and got to finally make his pro debut at Comerica Park.
And I remember that's true.
Yeah.
I remember it was a big story last year when he made his debut. They were talking about what a cool story it was, because it was during the summer that he made his debut. No.
Yeah, it was. Might have been June or July, but yeah, he kind of came full circle over the weekend, and he didn't disappoint in Detroit.
Jeremy Dorsett here is saying that the Marlins will have 110 losses. If they get 43 wins, it'll match the 03 Tigers. If they get 51 wins, it'll match the 04 Diamondbacks. I'm assuming those are the worst records in history. I'm assuming that's why he's predicting that. Do you think we'll get to 110 losses?
It's possible. I don't think we get there. A lot of that is because we're starting to kind of like get people back healthy. Brax is hopefully going to be better. Eddie Cabrera is only on the 15-day IL last time I checked, so we probably get him back at some point. I would guess by the end of the season, we probably see Max Meyer come back up. We have Luzardo, who will get it back on track. Ryan Weathers is tearing it up. Trevor Rogers has the potential to kind of go out and throw what he did against the Tigers every game. So I think there's room for hope from the pitching side. And I think we'll probably start seeing some prospects getting called up on the offensive side.
I think that's what everybody's looking forward to.
Yeah.
And I feel like in baseball, it's almost a given. You're going to have 60 wins and 60 losses. It's almost like it's an outlier if you don't have 60 wins or 60 losses.
Yeah, and I think Callie likes to say that, right? You're going to win, or Callie likes to quote, I think it was Tommy Lasorda who says it. You're going to win 60, you're going to lose 60. It's what you do with the 62 in the middle that matter, or whatever it is.
42, yeah.
42, yeah. And so, I don't know. This team on paper isn't that bad. So I'm hoping they can figure something out and maybe avoid the 100 loss season. But yeah, they're not making it easy for themselves, right? And we did it like 2 weeks ago. We swept the series, and I was like, yeah, you can renew your Bally Sports subscriptions. And then we went winless the next week. So, you kind of have to take it week by week, and I try to find as many optimistic points as I can about this team, but it's tough. It's really tough, especially like when your offensive players, you have 1, 2, 3. You have 4 players with a positive WAR on this team. You have Jazz, who's a 1. You got Otto Lopez, who's a 0.5. De La Cruz is a 0.4, and Dane Meyer, who's a 0.1. Everybody else is either 0 or negative. Jake Berger right now is a -8.
Oh yeah, Jake Berger's having a rough go. Yeah, Jake Berger has been, and right before his bobblehead night too.
Yeah, and he looked good. He started looking good, and then he got hurt, and now he's working his way back. So, I don't think he'll stay at a -8. I don't think Josh Bell will stay at a -05. I think Tim Anderson's getting replaced. We're going to see that now with Tristan Gray getting the call up over the weekend. Yeah, I don't think we see Tim back as a starting shortstop.
What was the last time he played? He only played one game over the last week.
Well, he's on the IL now. Right, he's on the IL. So
was that in the Phillies? The first game.
I think it was the Phillies. Yeah, it was the Phillies series. So, but I think Tristan Gray is more than capable of replacing him as bad as he's been. I know he hasn't done anything for us yet, but I think he's only had one game. No, 4 games. He hasn't done anything yet, but we'll see.
What was the? If you were to say, because I'm surprised that we still haven't seen any other moves. I'm assuming they're coming at some point.
Yeah.
Who do you think has the best trade value as the season's gone on? Because
Trade
I think
value.
Brian
Yeah.
De La Cruz, right? That has to be it.
Yeah, and so we kind of talked about this in our private chat. Definitely De La Cruz is who I think. I would also expect to see Nardi and Tanner Scott get some interest. I know Scott's been pretty bad for us lately, but I think a team kind of like the Orioles who are looking for bullpen help could probably get a decent return for Tanner Scott, and Scott would not be expected to be the closer, which I think where we saw him last year is he was actually better before he got the closer role. And he definitely earned it last year, but he hasn't done anything this year. And I think Nardi is like we saw last year, right? Like we could bring him on with the bases loaded, no outs, and nobody's getting across the plate. So I think those two guys have potential. I don't think Jazz.
Jeremy
I don't think
Dorset
Jazz
saying
has a
he
high.
thinks Jazz.
I don't think he has as high a trade value as we think he does as Miami fans.
Well, surprisingly, he's only missed one game, and I think that's always been the biggest knock on him, is that he can't stay healthy.
He has, but I think like we saw, and you know, Spazzy, Callie, and I look like idiots now, and you look like the genius with the interview. Is I think that turned a lot of people off on Jazz. And that definitely goes into a factor because teams buying right now are contenders. They don't want to bring in a guy who's going to upset the chemistry in a locker room.
Yeah.
And Jazz has the potential to be that guy. I'm still a Jazz fan. I'm still in the guy's corner. But I do think that if you're looking to add to a contender, I think a guy like Brian De La Cruz, Josh Bell.
I think Josh Bell is gone. Josh Bell does not make it past the summer.
Yeah, I'd be surprised because he's definitely capable of putting up numbers more than what he's doing now. I think position wise that might be it. I also think as the Marlins organization, you probably don't make moves to bring in Tim Anderson and Nick Gordon if you're going to trade Jazz in the season. I know we were saying like, yeah, anybody for the right offer, sure. If a huge offer came in for Jazz, with where you could get like a team's at least 2 of their top 5 prospects in the trade, I can see that happening. But Jeremy, you bring up another good point there. I can definitely see Jazz getting traded, but when you're talking mid-season trades, it's generally somebody going to a contender. Like you're right. Trying to pick up that piece because you're going to buy high. If arbitration this summer goes or this offseason goes poorly, Jazz could absolutely get traded anywhere. There are a lot of teams who would take Jazz, but I'm just thinking because it's an in-season trade, I just don't see him moving to a contender. Like I don't think the Yankees are like, yeah, we need a Jazz Chisholm, or the Orioles are saying, yeah, because the Orioles need an outfielder, in my opinion, right now, which is why I think Brian De La Cruz could kind of fit that. Yeah. But they're not saying like, yeah, we're going to go out and get Jazz. He's not the guy.
If you're getting an outfielder from the Marlins, I think that Brian De La Cruz is going to be the guy you go after, unless it's a non-contender. But like you said, in-season trade, that's probably not going to happen. That's going to happen in the off-season.
Yeah, if you're going to make a move for a guy like Jazz, it's probably going to be like a winter meeting type move, in my opinion. But you never know with this front office because I think they're listening for offers for anybody right now.
So we got 90s night tomorrow.
I wish I could go.
Yeah, me too. I was looking, and the tickets are $24 a piece. It's the upper deck, home run porch, I believe. And $24 isn't too bad. I just don't know the quality of the windbreaker. I don't know if it's gonna say Norwegian Cruise Line really big in the back.
Oh, yeah, that's a risk.
Because if they're doing something like that, then I don't want it. But if it doesn't, that looks like a really cool windbreaker jacket. Yeah. I really love that giveaway.
I'd be surprised if it has advertising on the back because they're including it with a ticket purchase. if there was just a regular giveaway where like everybody got one, then for sure on the back it would have at least like Goya, Norwegian, it'd have all sorts of stuff
Exactly.
all over it. But I think because they're tying it in with a ticket purchase, you're probably safe on that. Because like I know on the jazz nights and stuff that they had last year, the jazz band, those shirts didn't have advertising on it. It was just like a jazz shirt. I don't think the Sandy's Beach shirts did either.
Yeah, because
I
I
could be
hated
wrong.
those Konine jerseys that I got. That had a big Norwegian thing on the sleeve. I'm like,
Yeah.
come on, what is this? It's like the only thing that ruined that giveaway.
Yeah. And then
Well, go ahead.
you know, talking about giveaways and bobbleheads, I was looking at the schedule. I wonder if they're still doing the Luis Ariz bobblehead giveaway.
When was that scheduled for?
Like it's like August.
You think that they must have already produced those? No,
I would guess so. I
no, they
I
can't. They
would
can't
think
give
so.
those away anymore. That would be
Maybe they'll
atrocious.
put like they'll change the wording on it, like "Thank you for our first cycle" or something.
There you go. Maybe
Yeah,
fond memories. Good luck.
yeah,
So 13 and 32. By the time we get on here next Thursday, we'll be 50 games in. We'll be 51 games
Yeah.
in to be precise. So we have the Mets coming up at home, which makes that 90s night. I don't know. I don't want to say if it's better or worse because honestly, the thought of that being filled with Mets fans annoys me.
yeah.
But
And seeing Mets fans crying because they just lost to the worst team in baseball makes me feel pretty good.
well, they're not. Well, okay, well, the Marlins are literally the worst team in baseball right now.
We are.
Literally
We're
the worst
bottom
team.
we're bottom in I think batting, or we might be second to bottom in batting. We're pretty down there in pitching.
Well, I was talking just in general record-wise, but yeah, I'm sure that in all
Yeah,
those
in all
categories
categories
also.
we're down towards the bottom. Yeah. The power rankings on the Athletic, we went down from 28 to 30, even though we won 3 games.
But that's how bad things are. We
Yeah.
we had a decent
Yeah.
season, and it's sad to say 3-3 is a decent week, but we had a decent
Yeah.
week, 3-3, and we went down in the power rankings. We have the 5th worst batting average in the major leagues, 4th worst in the MLB. I thought it would be last.
We're getting there.
And pitching wise, we have. I don't know. Our pitching isn't as bad as I thought. We're
What are we, 26th?
16th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's what 2 solid starts from your pitchers will get you.
There you
Or
go.
3, really. Yeah.
And that was just based off of ERA. Now, batting average against, we would be, again, not that bad, 13th. So, look, not as bad as I thought. I mean, 13, I don't know, 13 and 32. There's just no way around it. So we got the Mets 3 here, and then we have the Brewers, who are probably one of the best teams in the National League.
Yeah.
How do you feel the next 6 games will be going?
You know, I think anytime we play the Mets at home, I think we could take 2 out of the 3 from the Mets. I really do. They're not much better than we are.
No, if we sweep them, we're like 4 games behind them in the standings. And when you look at the salaries of both these teams, the payrolls, that would be so sweet to sweep them. And at this point,
really
I'm declaring that now the goal that I have for the Marlins. End up with a better record than the Mets.
It's possible.
That would make me happy.
I don't think we'll catch the Nats this year, but yeah, we'll definitely catch the Mets. The Nats are only 20 and 22. It's possible that they tail off, but they've got a lot of good young talent, including Naysom, who we did not protect in the Rule 5 draft and is looking like a pretty damn good second baseman that we could probably use right now.
Jeremy has an interesting question. Sixto and Sandy, could they be traded in July?
By July next season?
Next season. Well, if you're talking about next season, then maybe it's a possibility next season.
But Honestly, nobody's gonna take Sixto. I I I don't know who would take Sixto.
Spaz.
I really don't. Spazzy is the only one. Spazzy loves the guy. He wants to have Presidentes with him in the parking garage. But like you're God, where is he? Yeah, he's batting average against is 325. Oh my god. Yeah. 22 innings pitched. 5.96 ERA.
Oh, and by the way,
It's a
I just
zero
realized
WAR. So
that the stats that I was giving you just a minute ago are all completely wrong. I was looking at just the
oh
last 7 days, which would
oh
explain
okay, but
why.
still like
Yeah,
that's
the last seven
relevant.
days. Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess. But we had two
yeah,
shutouts,
that's true.
so
That's
that
true.
would inflate those numbers. So let me correct myself. We have the second worst ERA in the league this
Okay.
year. And batting average wise, we have the fifth worst batting average against this year as far as pitching goes. And offensively, we have, oh, still fifth batting
Okay.
average wise for us. And okay, well, but
Well,
regardless,
we'll
uh,
see.
not
Ye-
as good as I thought.
Yeah, but yeah, Jeremy, I just don't see any value in Sixto. I don't know that anybody else would. He's just going to be the albatross we hang around our necks, praying that he turns it around so that we can say we got something for JT Realmuto. But at this point, nobody's going to take Sixto. Sandy, this
That
is
would be
where
next
things
year.
get. Yeah, it would be next year for sure because he's going to be out this whole year. But that's where things get interesting, right? Because the team is saying publicly that they're building for to be a contender. You would think that would mean we're going to build around some of our young talent, like Sandy, like Yuri,
Yuri.
Jazz, Berger. Maybe De La Cruz filters into that, but
Mm.
it depends on what people are willing to give up for
Right.
DLC.
Right.
But he's young enough and he's playing really well. Like I think he could be a piece, but it really just depends on what the front office is going to do. Because like a Rise is somebody I would have put on that list as somebody to build around, and he's
For
gone.
sure. For sure.
So I think everybody is for sale if we can get the right number.
Deal.
Because
Yeah.
like the draft this year, we screwed ourselves by making the playoffs because this is probably the worst draft in recent history. By the time we go up to pick, there will not be anybody that anybody is projecting as an MLB starter, let alone, um, yeah, it's just a really weak draft class. So if you're not picking in the top 9, you're not getting anybody, and I think we pick at 14 or something. Um, so we're not going to be able to rebuild the farm system this year through the draft. We're really not going to add anything that's going to any prospects that'll break the top 10. So the only way to rebuild is to trade people. So guys like Sandy, who will be attractive to people because he's a proven commodity. Yeah, he could go in the off season once he's healthy.
Do you think that making the playoffs, I know outside of the draft point that you just made, making the playoffs was a detriment to this team because that's why Bendix probably didn't just blow it up in the offseason?
I think making the playoffs and then deciding to completely change your team's vision is what killed the season. Because you
Kim,
made the
yeah, getting rid of
playoffs with
Kim.
Kim's
Right.
vision, and Kim built this team around Skip, around like the players that were here, and you ended up in a position where had Kim still been here, she would have just continued building on that vision. So we probably would have made the playoffs. Our farm system would still be garbage, but we'd be winning more games. But because you completely switched the way you want to do business, and now you decide you want to be the Tampa Bay Rays, which is all fine and dandy, but they've never won a World Series.
Nope. They
We've
made it to
never won
one.
a World Series that way. Yeah. And so you change how you want to do things, and all of a sudden your manager doesn't make sense for that system, your players don't make sense for that system, so now it's about changing direction again. And every time we do that, what makes this one worse for me at least is like we made the playoffs. We were there. Like
Mhm.
Kim proved that she could do it. And I know a lot of people on Twitter are very critical of where we are now and blaming this on Kim. But, you made the playoffs, and then Bendix, the best thing he could have done for us is just blow up the team, like you said, regardless of if we made the playoffs. But to your point, he probably felt like he couldn't do that because we made the
We just made
playoffs.
the playoffs, right?
If we miss it by one game, then what we're probably talking about right now is a bunch of prospects and Sixto on our team, and everybody else is gone already.
Do you think Kim would have had this team better suited for the season?
I think Kim would have continued to add to the team. Like
Right, because I think
clearly
Bendix's vision is to eventually blow this up. He just doesn't know how to do it quickly. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I think what he also wants to do, and he realizes, like, and what the Rays do, is you kind of have to keep a couple people around for like a decade. You have to have like a face. So whether that's Jazz, Sandy, Berger and Jazz, Yuri and somebody, there'll be 2 or 3 people that probably have good trade value, but he'll keep around just to say, like, hey, we have franchise players. But I think, like, kind of going back to Kim, like, she would have added to the bullpen because, right, like what we've seen so far this season is our starting pitching's been decimated by injuries, but when they have good starts, the pin blows it immediately.
Yeah.
I think Kim probably would have added to that, and she would have addressed the shortstop position because clearly Wendell wasn't in her plans because he was already gone by the time she was let go. So at that point, you're probably getting somebody better than Tim Anderson. Yeah, Jeremy, that's
Josh Chisholm could be Carl Crawford. Hopefully he's better than Carl Crawford. Who's our Evan Longoria?
Berger. Could be.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Berger's a good player, and he's got a lot of time, a lot of club control left.
I would love that bobblehead that's coming out on Sunday, though.
Yeah. I'm sure Spazzy will be there. We'll have to have him sweet talk the guys giving it away because they're going to have 20,000 left.
I know. What do they do with the extra ones?
I have a theory that they put them up on eBay because I see like this. I see these sellers like selling them, and I'm like, how could you have already sold 12?
Yeah,
like there's nobody else looking for these bobbleheads. Like it's just me.
Yeah, it's possible for sure.
Yeah, but who knows?
Right, well, I have this week I have the Mets and the Marlins. I think like you said, the Marlins will take 2 and they'll get swept by the Brewers. So I think they'll end up with a 15 and 46 record, by next week. And that would keep them from tying their record of third worst start in Marlins franchise history. So I mean, at least we'll avoid that.
Yeah.
What was the record that they ended up with that season? They ended up that season 62 wins, 100 losses. So exactly 100 losses that season.
Yeah. So I'd love nothing. At this point, my best case scenario for the season is we finish with 99 losses. I just don't like seeing the triple-digit losses.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't want to see the 100.
I feel you. Well, look, your goal is 99 losses or less. Mine's is end up with a better record than the Mets. I think yours is probably more likely than mine. But regardless, that's where I'm setting my hopes towards.
Well, we'll see. The Mets decide they're going to – the Mets probably need to do a little bit of fire sale themselves because I don't see Alonso staying there.
Brings me so much joy.
I'd love to see Alonso.
I have so much family. I have so much family that are Mets fans. They're so annoying with the way they call him Uncle Steve, and Uncle Steve's this, and Uncle Steve's that, and Uncle Steve's gonna buy his way to the.
Gross.
Uncle Steve has no idea what he's doing, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's been it's been a real joy for me.
I can only imagine.
yeah, big time. All right. Any final words there, Brian? A nice short show since we were down 2 men.
Yeah, no. Get out there for the cool giveaways. It's a good weekend for giveaways with the windbreaker.
They're really pushing that, man. The Cuban heritage, the Dominican heritage, like they're really pushing these events.
When's Flanagan's night? Is that
June
Friday?
1st.
June 1st.
Next
All right,
Saturday.
so next Saturday. Yeah, so get out there for that. Just enjoy the giveaways. That's probably the best part of being at the park. But
Not just being at a ball game, man.
Yeah, having a hot dog and a beer and watching some baseball is never a bad thing.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I wanted to go out to Friday night. I don't think I'm gonna be able to go, but I really wanted that windbreaker. I just didn't want to be around so many Mets fans, though. So
I think Spazzy's going, and if you really want the windbreaker, you can buy a ticket, transfer it to him, and he can pick up the windbreaker for you.
oh, that's an interesting way to do it.
He did that for me. I still had the problem is getting the item back from.
What about to say because I never see Spaz.
He did that for me for the jazz night because I had 2 tickets, the jazz band night, and I sent it to him. I'm like, hey, can you get me the shirt? You can keep one and give me one. And so he went and he got it, and it's been a year. I still don't have it.
Spaz is an enigma. Like he shows up here, but I never see him in the real life. So
it's rare. Every now and then I see him.
Yeah, he's a man. He's the most interesting man in the world. You should see all the places he goes. When I grew up, I want to be like Spaz.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to be Spaz's wife. I hear about Spaz. He takes her everywhere. He treats her real nice. I love it.
It's a lucky lady. All right. If you are listening on audio, we appreciate you listening all the way to the end. Please leave us 5-star comment, review, all of the good stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. And for those of you in the chat, especially Jeremy, who was really helping us push through today, we appreciate you joining us and hanging out with us for the last half hour. Look, at this point, this is weekly therapy for you Marlins fans. Join us every week. It's just weekly therapy at no charge, and you're never going to find therapy sessions at no charge. So join us. And misery loves company, so we can just come and just vent here for a half hour to an hour, and then we'll be back next week. So let's hope that we can sweep the Mets. So until the next one, have a good one.